Hey everyone, Courtney here from How to Loom Your Dragon. Now, I have been getting countless requests from people. They have been wanting me to give them tips on how to design on the Rainbow Loom. Now, that's very difficult for me to do in writing. So what I figured I'd do, or try out, is to make a video every once in a while that will give away some of my designing tips and how I make things on the Rainbow Loom. Okay, depending on how this video does will determine if and when I upload more. Okay, if this video doesn't do very well, chances are I probably won't be giving away more tips or secrets. Okay, so this is for people who want to create their own animal designs, because that is pretty much what I do. I do pretty much animals. Okay, I don't really do bracelets. And also, I also do not use fancy techniques. Like, I do not do fishtails or loomigurumi. I just do the basic looming technique, which if you open up your Rainbow Loom, you'll see that little pamphlet in there that pretty much teaches you how to do the basic looming. That's pretty much what I do in all my designs, just the basic looming, and then, you know, I add like the little body parts and stuff. Okay? So it's nothing really complicated. It's just the designing process can seem a little tricky, which is why I'm putting this video out for you all. So this video is a before you begin video. So it will teach you what to do before you even begin putting bands on your loom. Okay? So, the first thing you should do is you should go and buy a graph notebook. Graph notebook. Okay? These are very helpful when designing. Okay? I know that there are templates online that you can buy, Rainbow Loom templates that you can buy, or not buy, but you can just print them out. But if you're doing a double loom, triple loom, quadruple loom design, sometimes those templates aren't available, and it's annoying to have to put the single ones together to make bigger ones. So that is why I recommend just getting a notebook. It makes things so much easier. Okay? So get a graph notebook. Okay? And you also want to print out a picture of the animal you want to design. Okay? Preferably, you want to print out a side view of the animal. So for example, most of you know that I did that poodle for Rainbow Loom, which you can check out on my channel. What I did was I printed out a picture of a poodle before I started even making her. I printed out a picture, a side view, okay? Yes, I know this doesn't look exactly like the poodle I made changes to it. That's always allowed. Okay, a side view of the animal, and if you can get a front view, that's always good too. A top view is always helpful as well, but the most important is the side view, okay? So I got the side view of the animal. Alright, so I printed out that picture. Yay. So I have my notebook, I have my pictures. Now, what we want to do is we're going to be graphing out our symbols that we're going to be using in our notebook, okay, for when we design. We don't just place bands on the loom and hope they turn out right. We are going to actually graph out the designs, and it also involves math. Yay! Hope you love math. Haha. Yeah, it's not just a free-for-all, you know, just hoping that it comes out nice, okay? We don't just guess. We actually think about what we're designing. Okay? So, open up to the first page of your graph notebook, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the word, or the words, symbols to use, okay, when graphing. I know I'm a perfectionist, I have it right in the center there. Okay, symbols to use when graphing. Now what we're going to do here is we are going to make up symbols so that when we graph our designs, we are going to use those symbols. So when we actually involve the loom, we know exactly how to put our bands on based on our graph. Okay? That's pretty much what that means. Okay, so let me just grab some bands here. to show you what I'm doing. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the loom, okay? And all I'm going to do is I'm going to draw dots on the graph paper. This is why the graph paper is wonderful, because it's all graph, like, you know, measurements are perfect here. So I'm going to draw a dot here. It symbolizes a peg on the rainbow loom, okay? Symbolizes a peg. Now each column of your loom has 13 pegs, okay? A single loom has 3 columns. So let's draw a single loom. So I have my first peg, I'm going to draw 13. Here's the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I drew them all on the intersection between the squares. Now, this is an offset loom. Okay, so for the other rows, I have to draw the dots in between the intersections. And I'm also going to draw 13. Okay, on both sides. Okay, so this represents our loom, okay? Now I'm going to draw a rectangular loom, okay? Because sometimes we use offset, sometimes we use rectangular. So the rectangular is the same thing. It's just, you know, all the dots are going to be on the intersections between the squares. Okay, have fun with it. I'm making a pattern and going around the circle or the rectangle. Okay, there is my rectangular loom, okay? Again, there's 13 dots, okay? So, I have some bands here to show you an example of what I mean. So, I have my loom here. I'm going to take, or I'm going to show you, double bands, okay? I use a lot of double bands in my designs, so 2 bands at a time, okay? 2 bands at a time, I call those double bands. Right? We're going to think of a symbol for this, okay? So I usually just do 2 curved lines on each side like that. So 2 ovals. That means double bands. And what I'm going to do once I draw that symbol, I'm going to draw an arrow, double, I hold my pencil weird, and yes, I am a lefty, double bands, okay? That is going to represent 2 bands between the top 2 pegs. See how it's between the first and second here and the first and second here, right? Now, let's say I want to do 3 bands, okay? 3 bands. I'm just going to do this to not confuse you. 3 bands on the loom is represented by 3 curved lines. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? That means triple bands, so let's write that. Triple bands. Okay, what about a double looped band? Okay, you have a band and you twist it into a figure 8. That is a double looped band. Okay, double looped. I rarely, if ever, do 2 double looped bands on top of each other, which I actually did in Rudolph's and Clarice's design, but I don't like it that much. So double looped band I represent with just straight lines going down like that. It looks like stretched out band. Okay, so that is a double looped band. Band, just 1, okay? If you're doing 2, maybe you could, like one on top of the other, you could just draw like a symbol in here, like 2 or something. You know what I mean? So that you'll know, but I usually don't do that, so I usually just do 1. Okay, let's think about our horizontal bands, okay? So let's say I have some bands here at the bottom. Let's say I have doubles here. Doubles here, doubles here, doubles here, however you do it. Horizontal band. When I usually do 2 horizontal bands, so I take 2 bands and on an offset loom, I usually just go like a triangle, okay? So let's think of a symbol for that. I usually just do a triangle, Okay, that to me means 2 horizontal bands. Okay, that's what that means. Now, if you're doing a double loom or triple loom, you can always stretch the bands farther, right? So, you know, for example, if I have another row here, I'm just going to kind of quickly sketch it out. If I have another row here and bands here, or 5 rows, you can actually like stretch it across farther, but you'll still know that it's a horizontal band, okay? Or 2 horizontal bands, okay? Now, what about a double looped horizontal band? The double looped horizontal band it's usually, I do the same thing, so a triangle, but then I'll put these little lines on it to represent a single double looped horizontal band. The double looped horizontal bands bring it closer together, okay, the 3 rows. So if you want a tightening in your design in the middle, or wherever, you're going to use the double looped horizontals, okay? And we'll go through that in later videos if I make more, how to know when to use the double looped, how to know when to use the double without the double looped. How do you know when to use each? Okay, we'll go through that as well in future videos, okay? The double looped horizontal, I forgot to show you what it looks like. It's just the double looped band across the pegs like that, okay? That's what that means. All right, now what about the capping band, okay? Let's say I have a design here. Oh, I forgot to explain something. Okay, so what if I have a rectangular design, okay, on the rectangular format, and I want to do the horizontal bands, okay? I usually just, instead of the triangle, I'd go straight across. Okay, so I'm also going to write 2 horizontal bands, okay? That is on the rectangular format, okay? And then same thing, the double looped would be the same thing with the lines through it. So single, double looped, horizontal bands. Okay, capping band. Okay, to symbolize a capping band, we always put capping bands at the bottom of the loom usually. Okay, I just pretty much just draw a thick circle. Okay, so I'm going to write that capping band, so you know when you see that to put a capping band on. Okay, capping band usually is like this. So if I have my looms or my bands, okay, and let's say there's more bands up here, whatever. A capping band is when you twist it around the one peg so that you can loop the bands, okay? And we will go through in a later video how to know how many times to wrap the capping band around as well, okay? That is what a capping band is, and that's how I represent a capping band. Okay, let me just take a look here at what else I need to explain. Loom symbols as well. So obviously if you're doing a double or triple loom design, you will just add more dots, right? So if I'm doing a double loom rectangular, I'll just, you know, add another loom here. Okay, all the way down. Okay. All right. Now for attachment symbols, okay? Usually in my designs, I make all the body parts and then attach them to the main body at the end when we loom the main body. So I make symbols for that. So let's say I have my design here. I'm going to draw my loom again. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Let's say it's offset on the bottom instead of the top, so the arrow is pointing down instead of up. Okay, so let's say my loom, instead of instead of the arrow at the top, I'm going to move the middle row so the arrow's at the bottom. That's all that means. Okay, arrow at the bottom. Let's say I'm making a dragon, okay, and I made all the legs, I made the wings, I made the head and the neck, okay? So all I have to do is make the main body and attach everything to it, right? So I drew my loom here. Maybe it's a single loom little dragon, okay? Let's say up here is my tail, so here's the 3 bands that symbolize the thick tail. And maybe I'm going to move to doubles here. Maybe it's a long body. Okay. Oops, sorry, I can't really see there. Okay. And let's say I have all my horizontals here. Double band horizontals, like I said, I'm using the triangles to symbolize that. Maybe this one is a double looped horizontal because he's narrow at the top of his chest. Okay, so I have the body graphed out. I have all the body parts ready to attach. Where am I going to attach the neck? Here. So I'm going to use a special symbol for neck attachment, or where to attach the head. So let's say a square. Okay, so I'm always going to use a hollow square to represent attachment of the neck. Okay, what about the wings? The wings, sometimes I put them on the edge, sometimes I put them on the horizontal band. Let's use hollow circles for the wings. Okay, so I'm going to use hollow circles. Okay. Maybe my wing has 2 end points that I'm going to attach to the body, which is why I put 2 circles there, meaning I'm going to attach the wing at both those pegs. Attachment of wings. So this we all want to graph out before we do it on the loom and see how it looks, right? What about attachment of the back legs? Let's think, let's do triangles for the back legs. So wherever you end up attaching the back legs, I'm not saying you have to attach them to these pegs, I'm just saying you want to think of symbols. Attachment of back legs. Now depending on how you're looming, you might be attaching the back legs above or after you loop the band, before you loop the band, after you put the bands on. We will go through how to know when to attach them, okay? In another video. We're just thinking of symbols for now, okay? What about the front legs? Okay, what if I want the front leg to go right in on the same peg that the wing went on? Maybe I'll use a different symbol, maybe a goofy looking rectangle or large square. Attachment of front legs. Okay. It's a rectangle. It's not really a square. It's a rectangle. Okay. And maybe spikes. What if I put spikes on his back? So you want to think of a symbol for that. A symbol for every body part you're going to attach. So maybe I'll put spikes on every other peg and symbolize them with a dark circle. Spike. Or attachment of spike. I should put attachment of spike. Attachment of spike. Okay? So now when I graph out my designs in the future, I'm going to know to make a square where I'm going to attach the neck, circles where I'm going to attach the wings, rectangles where I'm going to attach the front legs, triangles where I'm going to attach the back legs, and thick circles where I'm going to attach spikes. Okay? So you just want to think of different symbols to use. Okay? Obviously you can attach the wings down here if you want to. I'm just showing you to put symbols for each of the body parts. Okay? I think that's about it. Oh, and then for example, if I'm making a stomach and I'm using my stomach attachment technique where I put the loose bands on the edge, let's say that I'm making a little stomach here, not necessarily for this design, but I'm just showing you an example. So I have my stomach. I'm using, maybe I'm putting double looped bands on the edge. Okay, and maybe my horizontal bands are, some of them are double looped, some of them aren't. Usually when I do stomach attachment, I put loose bands around the edge pegs. Okay. And the way I symbolize that is I just do these big circles like this, light big circles. Okay, I usually put 2 on the bottom, and then at the end, where we tie off the end, I just tie off with 2 bands and not put the loose bands on. Okay, so I'm just gonna put stomach attachment bands. Okay? So all you really want to do before you start your designing is think of symbols to use for every type of way you're going to lay your bands down. Double bands, triple bands, double looped bands, horizontal bands, double looped horizontal bands. Okay, and then symbols for the points where you attach body parts. Okay, that's pretty much how I do that. It might be a little confusing, but once you get it, it's really helpful. Okay. Yes, we do graph out our designs. We do not just free for all our designs. We actually use math. Okay. So depending on how this video does, will determine if and when I do another one. Okay. So this is all tips for before you begin designing your animal or whatever you end up doing. Okay. So get your graph notebook, get your pictures of the animal you want to design, and graph out all the symbols you're going to be using for when you graph the design. All right, see you soon, everyone.